Welcome, gentlemen. Thank you for joining us. Am I right? This is a kind of Grenoble reunion. I was seeing in your bios, you both studied in Grenoble.
Yes, we were both graduated for almost the same school.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
A long time ago, when
Okay.
we were very young.
Yesterday.
I'm glad that research time was well spent. Okay, look, we've got 20 minutes, maybe a little bit more. You want to take 2 minutes each just to tell us a bit about yourselves? Philippe, if you want to start.
Sure. So I'm currently the CEO of Gemalto. So this is a company operating in the digital security, cyber security, helping our customers to make their relationship with their own users safe and reliable and user-friendly as well. So we work in the banking sector in particular, with whom we are implementing the new banking technology to have remote connectivity and e-banking for customers.
And you kind of make some of the chips that people would
yeah, we
use.
we do indeed manufacture the banking card, but we go beyond that and establishing trusted relationship for the internet banking as well.
Okay.
And myself, Ludovic Lemoine, CEO and co-founder of Sigfox, we are rolling out a worldwide network. It's the first time in the world that we are one network without borders. Today we are covering more than 1 billion people. Our goal is to deploy around the planet a net that will allow to connect billions, hundreds of billion sensors, just to get data coming from not directly the people, but sensors. We are targeting every verticals, but the question for us is to tackle this detail of energy and costs, because my vision is not going to zero because we need to do revenue at the end of the day, but just to reduce the cost on the energy consumption while it comes to connect everything. So this is the network, and we are installing antennas. It's not just being an MVNO of an existing operator. We are building out our own infrastructure. We are installing antennas over the world, but all these antennas are connected to one cloud to deliver the lowest and the most efficient solution for object.
And building out your own network, of course, actually works out cheaper, uses less energy, and you don't have the same kind of data that a mobile network needs to carry.
Yes, for sure. We are definitely a complementary solution. We don't want to deal with the same constraint, the same value than the MNOs, because they are working on delivering more bandwidth day after day. At Sigfox, we have a very small payload, like the Twitter of the telecom, but we are trying to reduce the cost of the hardware. We are reaching around 20 cents for the module instead of tens of dollars. And the cost per device per year, depending on the volume, can be lower than €1 per year, which is and I think it should decrease day after day.
And just a general question to begin, where exactly are we with IoT and finance? I'm sure everyone knows they can use their cards to kind of contactless payments and maybe pay with their watches even, maybe pay with their smartphones, but more broadly speaking, where are we in terms of what IoT has done to finance?
Well, first of all, and I think Ludovic can comment as well, IoT is a consolidation of many different segments, with each of them different requirements, different usage, and different pain point to solve. As far as finance is concerned, here I would say the most obvious example is putting payment on mobile phones, right? And this is where we are today, distributing the payment key, the one you have on a traditional banking card. The idea is to find that key into a chip of the mobile phone, so that the user can use the device to pay at the point of sale. And this is something that we have been experiencing for the past, I would say, 5 years. And I would say here the main challenge, if I may say, is what we call the enrollment. The most important task we have to do with our bankers is to make sure that the key is downloaded into the right device towards the right person. And you may think that this is very easy, but we have been going through a lot of teething issues and design issues to enable a smooth and an easy enrollment for payment on mobile.
Okay, and where in terms of IoT and finance, what is happening that, you say we've been doing this for 5 years, what are we able to do perhaps now or going forward? What do we think that IoT is going to do for us?
For me, IoT, because we are in front of us an audience for finance, the goal for IoT is not a technical deal. It's a way to produce data. Every industry has data. They need to produce them, so they need to define the equation of each data to get its value. So to try to to define a range for this value, whatever the data is. The challenge for us is to produce this data at a lower cost to create a margin. If we had whatever the margin regarding the numbers, we are talking about billions, hundreds of billions of data, we have a huge amount of value to create. And this is why IoT means for me. It's not a question of talking about technology. We are building out Sigfox because we know that, for example, if it comes to connect these chairs, these couches in this room or the chairs in this place, the value of to know where someone is sitting on the chair or not, for the moment you say, what do we do with this data? Because we are thinking that it's too expensive, but if it's quite free, for example, less than $1 to connect per chair, we will get a benefit at the end of the day getting this data.
And you're going to own the data, you're going to kind of offer it, okay, you can have access to our network, and then if you want to get the data as well, then we're going to charge you X amount.
Yeah, the business model of Sigfox for the moment is a fee per device per year. But our challenge, because we own the cloud, we gather all the data coming from all the verticals, but we deliver in a safety way, maybe sometimes using with Gemalto security features. We also work to gather data coming from different verticals and having like an horizontal approach, because in the big data, in this way, we know that there is a lot of value to gather, to merge this data, and to try to find out patterns for external values. This is so what we are doing at Sigfox. We don't own the data directly because the data belongs to our customers, but sometimes we try to explain to our customer that if they want to share totally or part of the data, we can give them a second life on getting more value on top of it.
Now, I'm glad you mentioned the data, because obviously where there's data, and there seems to be a kind of theme running through all the different areas of fintech we've been discussing at this conference, that it's really the data, it's all about the data. Where there's data, obviously there's concerns about data security. And Philippe, I was reading from Gemalto, you did a survey, 90% of consumers in this survey saying that the amount of data collected by IoT devices makes ensuring their privacy a challenge. How can you reassure people, especially when we've seen hacks of whether it's phones or networks or companies, very high profile ones, how can you reassure them that when they're making payments, whether it's from their phones, from their cars, or whatever IoT devices that they're using, that they're not going to be any more vulnerable to hackers than they are right now?
Well, that's a very important and complex topic, I would say.
Got 11 minutes.
Yeah, I'll try to be synthetic. Well, you have two notions when you think about protection, about data protection. One is what we think about data protection at the core, and at the central point of the network. And take the Sigfox network. You are processing data, and here the idea is to protect them by encrypting. So the basic ideas being that if you steal them, you don't do anything with them because they are encrypted. And the second level of protection, which is at the edge of the network, and typically thinking about the banking environment, thinking about the famous PSD2, which I think has been discussed a lot during these 2 days, you need to know who you are dealing with. And therefore, authentication of the enrollment, identification, authentication of the person or the thing. Because tomorrow, if you pay using a thing, if you pay using your car, you need to also authenticate the car itself, so the device itself. And therefore, protecting at the core and protecting at the edge of the network are two essential things you need to take into account when you design your service. Right? Then we can go into the specifics of the technology, but you need to keep that in mind. Again, the core and the edge of your network.
And Ludovic, when you look to protect the data, all this data that you're collecting, you use kind of off-the-shelf other partners, or you're building up your own kind of in-house capabilities to ensure that data is rock solid in terms of protection?
First of all, we have our own building security level, but in IoT, everything is a question of value, of margin. So sometimes we don't need to protect it at the most efficient level, because if you had a secure element, for example, it's the price exactly, but tens of cents to additional to get this very high level of security, but sometimes you don't have enough margin to add this component. So it comes for us to mix, to balance between the level of security you provide to your customers and the price they are ready to pay for that. So this is first thing. So at Sigfox, we have a built-in level of security that is fine, for example, for fire sensors, for water meter, and so on. But sometimes it's come to do some payment using a network like Sigfox, we should need to add this secure element regarding the value of the data. So this is, for us, something that we are taking care. But I would also mention something which is inside the IP network. You may heard about the deny of service attack. The threat we have altogether that one day, because we'll have billions of devices, IP-based, that can attack the main DNS server of the planet and break down the internet globally. This is a big threat. It can happen. For the moment, we don't have enough servers, so the threat is not so big. But if you think about the billion of devices we'll have based on IP in the future, it is a real threat. And my idea is, because we are not IP-based, we are covering the whole world. In 3 years from now, we have the full planet covered. We should be able to produce a second link per device to increase the security of every transaction. So not telling that the link itself is not secure, but sometimes we need something else in parallel to increase the reliability and security also.
So if there's an internet apocalypse, then Sigfox is there as backup? Okay, that's good to know. Also, for those of you who were concerned that Paris was underwater, if I'm right in thinking, Sigfox has been measuring with their sensors.
Yes, in real time we have a level of water in the scene.
So you're okay for now. We've heard it from
yes.
From Sigfox, and you can see for yourselves as well. We were talking a lot about artificial intelligence this morning, and basically how any tech company or even non-tech company is going to have to embrace artificial intelligence if they want to stay relevant. Perhaps it's not going to be more important than the steam engine and electricity, as some people have suggested. But when we talk about artificial intelligence, a lot of it's about predictive insights, about being able to anticipate what's going to happen. I mean, do you foresee things, Ludovic, in, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years' time, when it's going to be kind of full-on Minority Report, where you're walking around and there'll just be a scan of your eyeball and you'll be basically buying things just by looking at them, or things being bought for you because it just knows that you want to buy it?
I think so. I think we are working on a way to reduce the barrier between the real world and the virtual world. So I think we are digitalizing everything. We start with the CD-ROM 20 years ago, and today we are digitalizing our DNA, and it will follow up in that way. And you may heard about the Amazon Go service. You can enter right now in a shopping in a mall, get your product and get out without having to pay directly. You will be charged after on your mobile. So we know that the transactions are becoming seamless. And so you can imagine that one day we should be able to get the signal, not the tiny signal we are managing at Sigfox, but tiny signal coming from our brain, and capture them and be able to understand what we are thinking. And this is maybe seems to be too futurist right now, but it is, I think, something happening, because we have what is coming up is that the mix between the quantic and the quantic processing, the IA, which is a way to manage a huge amount of data, and at the end of the day, we should understand how our brain is working, how the molecules surrounding us are talking all together. So this is something I believe it should happen, but there is some time, but maybe not so far from today, so maybe 10 years.
Perhaps in the meantime, you should speak with Charlie Brooker, and we'll get a new episode of Black Mirror along the lines of what Sigfox is going to do for us. Philippe, where do you see things happening in the near or kind of medium-term future?
Well, to be a little bit more pragmatic, I mean, when we think about artificial intelligence and taking into account the architecture that I just described, the core and the edge, the idea is obviously to protect your network by running a proper authentication. But what needs to be important, what is important as well, is not to make it too cumbersome. Because if you ask your customers to remember too many passwords and do a routine for authentication which is too heavy, then it means that the service won't be used. And we know that's not the purpose of any internet service. So the idea of the way we intend to use artificial intelligence is to collect a certain number of signals at the entry point. So typically when someone is using his or her smartphone to do digital banking, internet banking, and analyze those signals. and decide with a certain number of a certain level of probability that that person is really the person he or she pretends to be. Means that if you trigger a transaction of 10 euros, nobody cares. I mean, the level of risk is very low, and then you won't ask any single passwords, because you would have a level of comfort that intelligent artificial would give you that level of probability, let's say 70, 75%, that's the person I think I have on the other hand. Now, this is for the 10 euro transaction. Now, if you want to buy a car using your device, then it's something else. And then you need probably to run something which is more sophisticated. So the way we see artificial intelligence for remote banking is to help making the right trade-off between security and user friendliness, user experience. And this is very important for e-banking today.
And since we're talking about finance in general and IoT in particular here, I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here, perhaps, Philippe. Of course, Gemalto is in the process of being bought by Thales. First of all, how's it going? And what is the kind of new look Gemalto going to be like as part of a larger French champion?
International champion.
International champion, excuse me.
Yeah, well, this is a project which has been announced last year around December, and the idea of this combination of Gemalto within, I should say, the big Thales, is to create a full business unit made of the existing asset of Gemalto plus some digital assets of Thales in order to accelerate our current strategy going forward. So we see that as an accelerator of strategy, if I may say, within a much bigger company with more financial muscle to help us deploy our ideas. And the good news typically is that Gemalto, in the framework of finance and fintech, Gemalto has a good offer, has an interesting offer in terms of authentication, and Thales comes with a lot of artificial intelligence capabilities. And in here, typically, just to give you an example, I see a lot of synergies, commercial synergies, development synergies by combining the assets of both companies going forward.
And the acquisition all going to plan second half of this year, is
yes,
that right?
Correct.
No worries with regulators?
Ongoing.
Okay. And job losses?
No.
No? Okay. Well, that will come as a relief, certainly here in France. Ludovic, your company has raised a huge amount of funds so far. How much have you raised so far?
Around 300 millions.
You've raised it. Are you already a unicorn? Can we call you that?
I think the challenge is not being a unicorn.
You're wearing a nice white shirt and white shoes. So.
Yeah, I think I'm running the company to become the S of the GAFA, as I said sometime. The challenge for us is to become the unique. For the moment, we don't have any competitors dealing to the same approach, and it comes at the end of the day to be the IoT network. At that time, I don't know what would be the value. So we struggled to be there today, because when it started in 2011, no one believed it should be possible to create one network. In front of us, we have all the big guys coming from the telecom trying to keep their margin. And I tell them that if you want the IoT happen, you need to take care about every detail. And it's not a way to kill your margin on your existing business, but to make this opportunity of IoT coming. At the end of the day, owning this network is a huge amount of value, because you talk about IA. IA is a challenge to get a lot of data. If you don't own the data, I think you will be very poor in the artificial intelligence business. So you need to feed your cloud with a lot of data. The data coming from us belongs to the GAFAs and the BATX in China, but the data coming from our behavior, our devices surrounding us, is not addressed right now. And the challenge for us is to get all this data and to leverage this huge amount of data. So at the end of the day, it will not be billions, it will be, I hope, tens of billions.
So I put Philippe on the spot, so I guess I should put you on the spot now. Any plans for raising further funds right now? Have you got enough to kind of reach your objectives without raising further?
We raised enough to reach the break-even point Q4 this year, regarding the value proposition of being only a Bitbuy for object, but we have as a plan for Sigfox that maybe can make sense to raise more, but for the moment it's not yet decided to start in a new round, because we did already 5 rounds, which is huge in 7 years.
And would it be imprudent to suggest that perhaps there are some synergies between the pair of you there? Would perhaps a tie-up one day be conceivable?
Well, I mean, today we are already partners, so I mean, we are already experimenting some combined approach to
More than partners, I mean, like under one roof.
Let us work on our combination with Thales first, and we'll see what the future will be.
Ludovic?
No, for sure, we need for some time a higher security level between devices on our network. Right now, we are working strongly with Gemalto to secure transaction between our antennas and our cloud. I believe also that we should be able to embed Sigfox in the SIM card, because I think we have also a way to leverage this opportunity to bundle SIM card on wireless Sigfox wireless connection. So this is part of the opportunity we can develop together, because we are French conquerors, we said, or if it's right?
French conquerors?
Yeah. We should be able to produce these synergies and address a new opportunity. But because IoT, we are right now at the same place that we were 10 years ago with the mobile. Remember Apple on Android launching the apps platform, and we saw the Shazam, WhatsApp of the world coming up. It will happen for IoT. We are simplifying everything, so we should see in the coming years a new startup, new billion-dollar company rising up from this IoT space. This is what we try to address right now.
Okay, great. Well, look, thank you very much for that really interesting panel, Philippe and Ludovic. And